All right, so we'll just jump right into it. I think the biggest thing on everyone's minds right now is, of course, interest rates, and that's one of the most important things that we're talking about with markets and crypto markets, with the whole economy. You've got a bit of an alternative point of view from Mr. Powell up there, who thinks that rate cuts are certainly necessary. He went double or nothing with 50 basis point cut. I think you've been speaking about how you don't think it's time for any cuts whatsoever. But even just yesterday, you were talking about a fear that there could be something on the level of like a nuclear catastrophe, right? That the bottom could fall of the markets if there's a cut, certainly of this size. It hasn't happened quite yet, but
it's been 12 hours.
It's been 12 hours, right? There's still time. There's still time for a nuclear catastrophe. Do you think we're still headed there?
Yeah. So let's make it a little bit louder. I was pulling up sort of the next BOJ meeting, and thankfully we have one on Friday. So the key indicator that I've been looking at is dollar yen. So we've had one side, we have clarity on one side. Okay, Fed cut 50 basis points to reduce the differential. What's the BOJ going to do? So Ueda has been very vocal, saying that they're going on a path of rate normalization. They're going to continue to raise rates even after the little hiccup that happened in August after the last rate hike. I was speaking to some of my friends in the hedge fund community on the markets to see what's the expectation for Friday in terms of the BOJ, and the market is quite complacent that they believe that the BOJ is not going to do anything until January or December next year. So if Ueda hikes, I think that would be cataclysmic for the dollar yen and a massive strengthening, or if he lays out a very aggressive path to rate normalization, combined with the Fed going higher on the 50 basis points, we could see some interesting price action to the close on Friday, and maybe another repeat of what happened between July 31st and August 6th a few months ago, when dollar yen collapsed going into Monday and Tuesday, and prompted a emergency statement by the BOJ saying, hey, hold on a minute, we're not really crazy about hiking rates. So I think Friday's close will be interesting to see how rates trade into the close, and then crypto was, given that it's a 24/7 asset. How is Bitcoin going to perceive, the two most important central banks' decisions over this weekend? So I still maintain a position that I think that this initial reaction of, Bitcoin's up to 62,000 and stocks are up and, dollar yen weakened a bit. I think that we reverse this move going into the weekend, especially if we get a more hawkish BOJ on Friday.
We've sort of been in a crab walk between 55, maybe 65 as the upper end for Bitcoin. Do you think that the outcome of the BOJ meeting might be one of the catalysts to move us out of that range, whether it's up or down?
Maybe, but I think at the end of the day, the market's looking for either much tighter, much stronger, or much weaker policy. Obviously, there's very big impetus for the U.S. monetary officials to do something drastic to help Kamala Harris win the election. And so if you've taken a look at U.S. federal deficits between the summer and today, I think the last reported deficit was one of the highest of record. And so they're juicing the economy going into the election. And so we should see more accommodation, whether it's rate cuts or Janet Yellen running down the Treasury General account going into the November election.
And why do you think that there shouldn't be any rate cuts right now?
The U.S. economy is growing at 2+% real GDP over the past sort of like 8 or 9 quarters. That doesn't to me seem like you need a rate cut.
Mm-hmm. Do you think that is a problem for crypto, that we're so tightly aligned with the activity in the interest rate markets?
Well, I think that Bitcoin was born out of a reaction to money printing by the global reserve currency issuer in 2008. The Genesis block was in early 2009. And so I believe that Bitcoin is the antidote to money printing. And so it should be very tightly aligned with what are the monetary conditions in the world's largest economy and the issuer of the global reserve currency. Thankfully, we have this smoke alarm that sounds, okay, well, shit's fucked up, right? Bitcoin at 60,000 tells you that something's wrong with the traditional fiat system.
Yeah, no one's trading magic internet money for that much money. For that much, if they think that everything is going super well. To switch things up a bit, I'm really fascinated by the way that you convey your writings to the public. You have a really wonderful way of mixing very high level and also nitty-gritty discussions of macro and financial policy with phrases like, what was it? Central wanker circle jerk, right? I'm curious as to why you choose to use not like that kind of language, but why you deploy that personality with mixing the degenerate language with the high level talk. It certainly makes for a fascinating read. Is it deliberate?
Oh, absolutely, because a lot of the time people find this stuff quite boring and they tune off. And I think it's great that everybody in the world is focusing on what one man is doing with interest rate policy. Supposedly, we have majority of democratic countries in the world, yet we're all looking at this one unelected bureaucrat and what he decides to do with the interest rates in the United States. So it's quite an ironic situation, and the more people that are attuned to that, the better. And if you're using language like people actually speak versus what you see in a textbook, then maybe you get more people to pay attention and understand how they're getting fucked by governments.
Yeah. How long does it take for you to come up with those phrases? Just on the spot, or?
I read a lot of macro research, and so I'll have an idea, and it usually aligns with a trade that I'm doing on my book, and so it might take me a day or two to write one of these essays.
In your September essay, you mentioned that your hand was hovering over the buy button. Has it moved at all?
No, I'm still long. I'm obviously perennially long. It's a question of, do I want to buy more stuff? And I'm still in a holding pattern. Maybe I won't exit the holding pattern until after the U.S. presidential election. I'm not really sure, but I think there's going to be sort of a very clear signal of what is going to happen and how much money is going to be supplied to the market.
How do you make sense of what's happening with crypto, the crypto discussion in the election? Because on one side you have Harris, who's both not saying anything and also indicating through her lack of saying anything that she's probably going to maintain the anti-crypto status quo, even if it's with different officials. And on the other side, you have Trump, who is saying the right things, but also doing confusing things like launching a shitcoin and things that, at best case, they'll be a distraction. And they don't really serve the broader purpose of what people are trying to do, even if they are flashy. How do you make sense of all that?
I find it very strange that crypto people think Trump is pro-Bitcoin. He was president for 4 years. He had ample opportunity to replace officials, to move forward policy if he really believed in cryptocurrency. So I don't believe anything he says. I think that whatever is the status quo today will be the status quo if he's elected. If Kamala Harris is elected, we know what her policies or not policies are. So I don't know. I don't think it really matters at the end of the day. I think people, majority of people here are not U.S. businesses, right? So it's interesting to look at. It'd be great if there was clarity, but we've gotten to where we are today without any sort of regulatory clarity. Ignore them. They don't really matter. We know that they're going to print money, and the prices are going to go up over time.
Yeah, so that's the problem, right? The core issue with inflation is, one of the core issues is government spending, and no one's actually addressing that. They're addressing the fuel to the fire. We have more fuel, less fuel with interest rates, but it doesn't actually fix the problem that there's so much kindling to begin with.
Yeah, you're telling a petulant child, spend less money, but then you make it cheaper for them to spend the money. So how is that going to solve the problem?
Yeah, it's so difficult to get anyone in DC to realize what needs to be done.
Well, they need to get reelected, so they know exactly what they need to do, which is what they're doing right now.
Well, yes, that's for sure. When you look at crypto, what worries you? Is there anything that worries you about some of the big narratives that are popular today? There's DePIN, there's meme coins, there's restaking. Do you look at any of the big trend ideas that are proliferating in the space and thinking, well, shit, we're heading towards a terrorist situation?
No, narratives are great because they simplify complicated situations for something that our human brains can comprehend. So without narratives, then it'd be very hard to attract attention. The worst thing that can happen for crypto is if nobody ever paid attention to us. So we want the price to be volatile. We want simple, easily digestible narratives that anyone can understand. Whether or not people make or lose money is irrelevant. We need attention. We need more people to know what Bitcoin is, to know what a wallet is, to know how to secure their own assets. And so I don't really care what the narratives are. I don't care if it's right or wrong. I just want you to think about it.
Yeah. And what narratives do you think are best driving that conversation? The ones that we in this room should be looking at and thinking, okay, well, that's clicking. That's widening the pie. That's bringing more people in. What do you see out there that's...
I think we need, and this is why I love ordinals for Bitcoin, we need to bring culture on chain. If you think about the majority of people, they're very apathetic. They don't want to get involved in politics. They certainly don't want to get involved in personal finance. They just want to give their money to somebody and earn a respectable return that beats inflation. And so how do you get them engaged in this cryptocurrency ecosystem? How do you get them engaged in the technology? Well, it's through culture, right? Go down to the Louis Vuitton store at the MBS and you'll see lines on the door for hours for people just waiting to get a leather bag with some letters on it. And so how can we get that sort of engagement with crypto, and I think meme coins and NFTs and this sort of thing, that brings in the masses and that educates them about what this actually is. And then a small percentage of them, or maybe a big percentage of them, will stick around and say, oh, I really like this. What else can I do with this technology now that I've got my, funky pixelated character or whatever?
Yeah, I think that's a good point for me. Like, I don't like to show my bags. I don't have many bags as a reporter, but I do own.
Really?
No, I really don't. I mean, I buy some Bitcoin every day, but I'm certainly not trading the market, except for meme coins. Some vote in here, But no, I'm really not trading the market. But I do own some things like LinkStao, the LinkStao NFT, and that's a crypto community that basically crowdfunded by selling NFTs to buy a golf course. It doesn't really actually manage the golf course through a DAO. That whole thing is a little bullshit. But it does actually provide value as a utility and as a membership device, and it's rooted in an NFT. Most of the people who bought it, they're already in the crypto crowd, right? They're not being converted to buy Bitcoin and go further down the rabbit hole because of it. But some people, Steph Curry bought it, right? He does a lot with NFTs, but it has a broader appeal because it is actually something tangible, ties into things people are already paying attention to. And I think that's a good point. One issue though with NFTs is, we've seen that the hype cycle before, right? Like we saw all the brands try to activate their existing consumer bases with NFTs. It caught on for a little bit. It seems to have fizzled, right? So with that and with ordinals, how do you think that they could restart that? Because
price.
With what's that?
The price doesn't matter. Bitcoin goes to 100,000 or 250,000 or whatever it is, then people feel wealthier. They start spending their money on digital things that resonate with them, and then you start seeing the whole cycle all over again. Just like with fine art, right? That's literally just a liquidity cycle of really rich people with dollars. So it's the same thing. If the price goes up, people who are rich, they buy stuff, and then the brands will come back and start building more things. And slowly over time, you increase just the base functionality of what these brands do in sort of the Web3 ecosystem.
You mentioned before you mentioned NFTs, you specifically mentioned ordinals, which of course are basically Bitcoin NFTs, right? Do you think that ordinals, because of their link to Bitcoin, are more primed for success than like Ethereum-based NFTs or NFTs on other blockchains?
I think relative to, Bitcoiners, maxis are not going to buy, a PFP or a Ponker, right? But maybe they'll buy an ordinal because it's within their ecosystem. It's purely on-chain. It speaks to the ethos of Bitcoin, and Bitcoin has the largest, wealthiest crypto community. So that's why I think they'll be successful. Not that, it's ordinals versus Ethereum-based NFTs or Solana meme coins, whatever. Every community should have their artistic expression, and they'll all do well.
Yeah, but if they do want to buy a severely undervalued LinkStao NFT, they should reach out to me. I'll get rid of mine. Just kidding about that. But yeah, with meme coins, I'm predominantly a Solana reporter. That's where I'm spending most of my time. I'm not often writing about macro trends, but I'm certainly reading it. That's basically the economy. The meme coin cycle has been one of the most fascinating to me because with Pump.Fun, it really just supercharged the ability for anyone to quickly spin up a meme coin. This is something that you could do before on any chain, but Pump.Fun made it super easy. And you saw a lot of winners, a lot of winning coins. But if you actually look at the pie of people who are walking away with winnings, it's really small. For the most part, most people are losing money. But they also, when they go through it, they don't seem to mind.
It's like a casino, right?
Exactly.
You go to the casino, you're going to lose money, probabilistically, but you enjoy yourself. You get a free drink, you hang out with your friends, maybe you win some money, maybe you don't, but it's a way to spend time and enjoy yourself. Same thing with trading, right? Most traders lose money, but they enjoy the pursuit, they enjoy the game. And so I think the same thing is present in meme coin trading.
Yeah, I guess with meme coins, the big difference is you're speeding up that cycle quite a lot, right? With a trade, it might take a little bit of time to prove itself or to unwind. With meme coins, you're going to know in the first hour. Or maybe
and it's literally, there's nothing other than, is this popular? Is it is it funny? Is it cool? Is it viral? You don't have to understand anything about economics. You just have to understand, I like the person who launched that, or that's a cool dog or cat or dragon or whatever it is.
How's your understanding or approach to crypto changed since you first got into it? Like to the market?
I'm much more about attention, less about the underlying stuff, because it doesn't really actually matter. It is what's attention usually gets value, and I think that is something that I've taken with me as I've gone to Maelstrom and invested in more projects and whatnot.
And that's a big difference, I think. Well, maybe it's not actually that big a difference between crypto and the equity markets. It's just things happen so much faster. in crypto. No. Like with the AI trades, certainly there's a lot of value wrapped up in the big ideas of AI and NVIDIA and all this, and actual economies and products that people spend money on. But there's also just the hype cycle. And what is a hype cycle if not just attention applied to the market?
Exactly. So I don't think crypto's that different from anything else, right? If people have attention, they look at it, they might trade it, they might not, but the worst thing you can be is be ignored.
I guess how do you keep yourself from being ignored?
From being ignored?
Yeah.
I throw kick-ass parties.
Okay, that's one. Good. It's an important one.
Very important. I write. So again, we try to write very thoughtful research. Try to have opinions. Hopefully they're backed up with fact. I'm wrong more than I'm right, but on an expected value basis, we still make money. So that's the game.
I'd love to just open up to the audience. If anyone has some questions, we'll take some time.
Pump.fun seems really exciting, except for the fact that traditionally we see a lot of devs come out and they actually lead it themselves. They launch tokens, they win, they draw some liquidity out, and then unfortunately, or fortunately for the market, they lose it gambling on the next coin that they then go back around. Pump.fun unfortunately extracts liquidity on that basis to players that don't necessarily want to participate in the next casino round. And it seems like that's going to draw down the total amount of liquidity available to the game and really just siphon it out of the least sophisticated player. Do you think Pump.fun actually drives more game growth over time, or in fact is going to lower the total amount of long-term potential in that category of games?
I mean, look around you. We're all MBS as the conference organizer. That is the most profitable casino in the entire world. They're an extractive business and they're still around. So I think Pump.fun is fine. There's not a negative, it's neutral, right? If you want to give your money to the house, give it to Pump.fun, you can give it to Sheldon Adelson, whoever runs MBS, Sands, and Genting or whatever. So same game.
One follow-up question is, recently it's been pretty crazy watching a battle between two massive teams with the same name go pretty viral, with Justin Sun stepping in on one side, with the co-founder of Binance, so there's two names being by the same name. What do you think about the exchanges kind of putting, let's say, their hands on the scales in such an active manner? We haven't seen Binance really step in before.
Sorry, I'm not really familiar with what happened.
So we had, there were two tokens, two narrow tokens. The dog whose sister adopted Kabosu, who died, who was a Dogecoin dog. And there were two tokens live. Binance listed both. And first listed one on Perps, then listed the other on Spot. And in the middle of the feud, the co-founder of Binance decided to step in and voice their opinion on which token should be considered more active. Do you think that memes should be decided more by the trading of communities or the holders, or we should be kind of relying on the kind of crypto gods at Binance and Coinbase?
I mean, if you are looking for someone else's opinion on whether the meme is good or not, you're probably going to lose all your money. So I think it's a free market. Do whatever you want.
Yeah, I'd have to agree with Arthur on that. I think the best thing to do with crypto is to let the market decide. That's really what we're doing here. Where we said way back when, well, something's not working with the financial system that we have, and we're going to build some. Well, I certainly didn't say this, but the people who did said we're going to build something new. And the reason why all of us are here now is because enough people said in the free market said, okay, well, this has value, right? And they paid attention, they put the money in. They didn't wait for NYSE or someone else to say, okay, we're gonna list that as an ETF or something like that. So I have a bit of a curveball for you, Arthur. I don't know if you've heard about futarchy.
Nope.
Okay, so basically it's basically how do we do governance if you use the market to do governance? And what I mean by that is, like, in the stock market and with crypto, the incentive is for traders to become more knowledgeable about what's going to happen. Because if they know something that other people don't, then they can make the right trade and they'll make money. So with, for example, when I think Challenger exploded, even before NASA had announced that there was some issue with the rings of the spaceship that caused it to explode, the market had figured that out and had driven down the price of the company that built the rings. And that's just one example of the tendency of market participants to, they're incentivized to become educated and make decisions. So with futarchy, with this governance idea, you're taking that basic notion that the people and market participants are incentivized to learn and make the right decision and say, well, now let's run something, be it a company, a country, or a DAO, with order books. Like you buy the token, or you buy the potential to get the token if you think that a proposal will be good for the price of the token because you did your research or whatever, or you sell the token because you think that it would be bad, and whichever market over X amount of time has the higher price is the one that executes. And you haven't heard about this before, so I'll just give you a little bit of a crash course, but I'm wondering, with prediction markets being so popular right now, I think it's very much an election-driven event, right? We have every 4 years, everyone seems to be talking about this event fixed in time that you can bet on, not in the US, but, well, I do it at least in the US. And what if you take the ideas of prediction markets and you apply it to governance? So I'm just wondering, just putting you on the spot, like, what's your quick take on that? Because I think it's very aligned with the mindset that you come at all this with, which is let's remove emotions from the table, let's look at these things objectively, and let's try to make the right decision that will make the most money.
Yeah, so I think that's an interesting construct. I'd probably take it a bit further and say, why not just have direct voting on everything? So you have a self-sovereign identity on chain, you're part of some localized community, and instead of having elected representatives vote on your behalf and maybe you don't agree with their vote and you elect those people, why not just propose everything direct to the people in every location? It's almost free at this point. It doesn't cost a lot of money as if it would if we had to mail people ballots and whatnot. So I think, yeah, we could take that concept of markets and deciding things, but even take it further, right? Everyone has a blockchain identity, a Web3 identity. Let them vote on every single piece of legislation and run things that way.
I guess we need a little bit more infrastructure and buy-in from governments in order to do that.
I doubt that the people who get elected to make decisions on behalf of others would like that very much. So it might have to be a little bit more grassroots led.
Right. Yeah. That's one of the problems with all this. Like when I look at NFTs, what is one really valuable use case for NFTs? It's ticketing. I just bought tickets to an Eagles-Ravens football game. I'm paying for a $400 ticket. I'm paying another $100 in fees. For what? I don't know. But StubHub is just extracting value. And also, there's not even a physical ticket anymore. I don't actually own it. I'm beholden to these corporate entities. Well, with NFTs, it's the simplest thing ever. You could actually have something that is physical, well, you could not physical, but you could have full ownership of it. You can decide how to sell it. The event organizer can also know and verify that it is legitimate, that it's not fake and scalped. But it's never going to happen. And why? Because the leagues and the corporate entities, they don't want it to happen because they'll lose a lot of money if they give power to people.
I think usually the chains like this happen on the long tail. So it's the event organizer who can't get an account with Live Nation or Ticketmaster or whatever, and they will fuck it, let me just use this NFT thing because I've been shut out. There's a particular content that's not allowed or not considered respectable, and I'm going to do that. And that's sort of how you gain traction, right? How did a lot of people get into Bitcoin back in 2009, 2010? They bought drugs on the Silk Road, right? It's the long tail things that are taboo. Those who are the earliest adopters, and then it sort of spreads like a virus. So yeah, of course, it's not going to be a major NFL game or soccer game that's going to use NFTs, but maybe some, I don't know, burlesque show that's banned in some countries is going to use NFT as ticketing versus Ticketmaster.
What's the most promising idea that you've seen hopping around Token 2049 this week?
Promising idea. Okay,
what's the second most promising?
Honestly, I could show my portfolio all day, but I don't think the biggest takeaway that I get from this is the energy of crypto, right? They think, I was talking to Alex, who runs the conference, and he said last year they sold 10,000 tickets. This year they sold 20,000 tickets. There's over 700 side events across the city. I'm sure if those of you who don't live in Singapore are paying up the ass for hotel rooms, the flights are very expensive. So we have the largest global gathering of crypto people around the world, and everyone's spending lots of money. So we're showing the whole world on a global stage, hey, look, I'm sure they're making hundreds of millions of dollars in RevPAR this weekend. because of this conference, because of all of us in the city. That's a wake-up call. Like, we matter, we spend, and so I think that's going to drive change across the world.
And then on a related note, what's the most interesting conversation that you've had? Second most, because this one's the most. During token.
During token. I don't know. I mean, I've been doing a lot of speaking myself, so obviously I think I'm very interesting, but others might disagree with that.
Cool. Let's open up one more time, just if anyone else has any more questions before we close it out. Surely everyone's just enjoying the moderation so much. They've got no questions at all. All right. Well, then we'll leave it right there. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.